Hi everyone, welcome to AWS Data Engineering training program. Yesterday we conducted a demo class where we talked about introduction to cloud computing and we also talked about how to create AWS trial account. Since our trial account is ready, we are able to do all the things practically. Today's class is about IAM, that stands for Identity and Access Management. In simple words, this is about the permissions and access in AWS, because AWS manage its access at very granular level. That means each and every activity you do on the UI or through the commands or through some any other methods, every action you take on AWS is controlled through the permissions. That means if you do not have the permission for anything and if you're trying to do that, you will see a error message. Yesterday we created one trial account and our email address is the full user, you can say admin user, or in AWS terminology we call it as a root user. So the root user has full privilege, including the account deletion as well. But definitely we cannot allow everyone in the team to log in as a root user, right? That's why along with the root user we have the concept of other types of user as well, that is IAM user. So we'll be talking about IAM user and many more concepts today. So let's start the class with the agenda. So the agenda for today's class is overview of IAM service, root account versus IAM user, MFA, that is multi-factor authentication, IAM user, IAM group, IAM roles, AWS managed policies, and creating customer managed policies. All these things we will be exploring practically on our account. Okay. So let's start with logging into my account. So I will log in with root user and I will enter the code. How to enable this MFA, that we will be talking about in today's class. 022539. Okay. So the very first topic we have is that is MFA. If you look at the slide, it's MFA. So I won't be, following slide by slide. I usually don't do that. I will be showing everything practically on the account, directly trial account. But later on, after the class is over, I can save the recording and PDF both so that you can follow it. If you want to do it quickly, you can follow PDF. That will help you to do it practically. If you want to watch the entire recording, that may take some time, you can even do that. Okay. So what is MFA? MFA is multi-factor authentication. As we discussed yesterday as well, that you are the root user and you are logging in with email address and password. And if somehow someone, you're known or unknown, if they come to know about your credentials, your email address and your password, they can log in into your AWS account. And login is not the issue. The issue will start when they will launch number of resources unnecessarily, and that will be ultimately chargeable to your card. That's very common scenario. There are hackers, they are staying in altogether different remote countries, and they will hack your account and they can do anything, right? So to avoid such type of things, because we are creating the account for training purpose and we don't want to get into all these problems, so the good part is the easiest solution is add MFA to your account. That means along with username and password, it will be asking for one more code, and from where that code will come, there are many ways to do it. Okay. So how to do that? You can see this one, virtual MFA device. I remember when I was one of the company, around it's around 5 to 8 years back. They provided me small device, some token device, and the device was flashing some 4-digit code, and that code was you can say refreshing every 1 minute. So whenever we were logging into such accounts, it we were, you can say, entering that code from that device. But nowadays with the advancement of technology, we don't actually need to buy any hardware or any device. That's not required. You can go with virtual MFA device. There are a lot of mobile app available for Android and for iPhones. You can simply install that, and it's a one time setup, and then every time you log in, simply open that app. It will display 6 digit of code. Simply enter from there and you're good. Okay, so let me show you directly on the. So I will go to IAM section first, search for IAM. So any AWS service you are looking for, you can go to the search bar. The search bar is very handy. We will use it every day multiple times. Search for IAM and you can see this manage access to AWS resources. So click on this one. Okay, and you can see this root user has MFA because I have already enabled MFA for the root user. But in case you are opening your suppose trial account and you haven't enabled, then you will see this type of error message like this. So what you will do is you will click on add MFA, then click on continue, and you can see that install a compatible app on your mobile device or computer. See a list of compatible applications. You can click on that. Although I have already done it, but let me show if I can somehow show you this one. You see this MFA is not enabled. Enable MFA. You can provide some device name, that's completely up to you. You can say anything, my phone, something like that. And then we will go with this one, authenticator app. Okay, click on next. Okay, device name. Okay, you can see this one. See a list of compatible applications. You can click on that. You will find a lot of applications. I have installed Microsoft Authenticator. I think that's the most convenient and the reliable one, but you will find many more. Let's see. For Android phones, it's Twilio is there, Authenticator is there, Duo Mobile, Microsoft Authenticator. That's what I'm using. Google Authenticator and Semantic VIP. Similarly, for iOS also similar applications are available. So it's quite easy. You can simply install it on your phone, and after installed, you can see this one, show QR code. So click on this, open your app, and just scan it. Once you scan it, it will display some 6 digit of code which you can enter here. Wait 30 seconds and enter the second code here and click on add MFA. That's all. It will hardly take 2 minutes to enable MFA, and it's one time activity. The next time you will log in, it will simply ask for the code. You open your app, enter the take the code from there, enter into this text box, and you should be able to log in. Okay. So with this one, we are done with the MFA setup. I'm stopping here for 2 minutes. In case you are having any doubt on MFA part, you can ask me. Okay. Seems like there is no doubt, so we are good. We will be moving for the next section. The next one is users. As I was explaining that we may have many team members, and definitely we cannot provide them the root user email address and password. That's not good, right? Because the root user should be used only for doing management and admin type of activities. Actual development activities your developer will be doing. So we need to create some IAM users for them so that they can log in and they can perform only limited activities. When you are creating IAM user, you will decide like what type of permission you are planning to grant to that user, and only those action that user can take. I have created one IAM user with the name IAM user Neeraj. You can see that. That was created for some purpose in my previous batch, but you can ignore that. We will create a new user from scratch so that you understand how to do it. Okay. So I will click on create user, username, anything. Suppose I will say Venkat. Okay. And provide user access to the AWS management console optional. You may be thinking that what exactly is AWS management console? So this UI, right? Whatever UI we have opened, I opened the AWS login page and I logged in. That is your AWS management console. And here we are saying provide user access to AWS management console, and that's optional. If not, then what else? So the thing is, UI is only one way of logging in. There are many more ways to do it. You can log in into AWS using command lines. You can log in into AWS using programming, Java, Python, and there can be many more ways to log in. But the most convenient way is user interface. Open the AWS login page, enter your email address, password, code, and done. So if you are creating a user, if you want that this user will be doing some technical stuff, as well as you want that they should be able to log in, sorry, into the UI, then you can give this option and then select this option. I want to create an IAM user. Sorry. After that, password, auto generated password or custom password. It's up to you. You can generate some random password, it will automatically do that. And user must create a new password at next sign in recommended. Usually, whenever we get a new account, there is some temporary password, some random password, which we can use for logging in first time. And as soon as we will log in, it will ask us to change the password. And that's a good practice. Let the user have their own preferred password, right? So either you can go with auto generated, and or you can, if you want to provide some meaningful password from your side, you can do that. Okay. So I'm giving some password here, and that's all. Click on next. The next one is setting the permission, because if you are creating IAM user and if you are not adding any permission, then it does not make any sense, because user will be able to log in, but after login, what? After login, the user cannot do anything. That's why you should add some permissions. So there are many ways to add the permissions. The first way is add users to a group. In case you are maintaining a group already, for example, you have a developers group and you have granted some permission for that group, and every member of that group will be getting those permissions automatically. Now, a new developer is joining, and instead of granting the permission to that user, you can simply add that user to the group, and whatever permissions are granted to that group, the new user will automatically get that. That can be the easiest way to add the permissions. But if in case you do not have any group available, you can go with the second option, that is copy permission. That means some user is already there, which you might have created last week, last month, and you just want to copy the permissions from that user. If that is the case, you can go with this option. So if I will select IAM user Neeraj, then all the permission granted to Neeraj user will be granted to this new user with the name Venkat. Or if you don't want that, you say, okay, I don't want to copy from group or anyone. I want to provide the permissions fresh directly. So go with this option. Attach policies directly. And if you scroll down, you will see that there are many permissions available. Auto, you can say, created by AWS. So you may not be aware about many AWS services for now, because just now we started the batch. But I can show you something. I can search for S3. S3 is the storage service in AWS. And you can see this. There are many permissions available related to S3. You can see the second one, Amazon S3 full access. Let's give that. I'm selecting that and scroll down, click on next, and you can quickly review your details. Username is Venkat, password is custom password, required password reset, yes. He has to change the password on the first login. And these are two permissions, Amazon S3 full access that I have added, and IAM user change password. That permission is automatically added by your AWS, because we check the checkbox, right? So two permissions are there. Okay. After the tags, optional. Tags are something which is not a technical stuff. First of all, tags are like basically adding some information to any of the AWS resource. It's not only for user. In the entire training program, you will realize that every AWS service we are creating, there's an option to provide a tag, and it's always optional. If you want to provide, you can do that. If you don't want to provide, it's absolutely fine. but let me show you how to do that. So click on add tag and any information. Maybe I would say team name. Team name is alpha. Okay, and that's all. Click on create user. So you can see this. These details are very important. This one is your console login URL. And notice that this contains a unique number. That's nothing but my AWS account number. As we discussed yesterday, every AWS account has a unique 12-digit account number. This is the username and this is the password. So you copy this and share it with your user, maybe over email, Outlook, or whatever method you want. So once the user will receive these three details, the user will be able to log in, and as soon as he will log in, he can change the password, and then we are good. But right now we added only one permissions as three full access. Tomorrow, next week, maybe the user is working on some other service and the user does not have permission for it. In that case, as a root user, you can add more permission to that user. So you can modify the permission at any point of time. If you want to remove some permission, if you want to add some permission, you can do that any point of time as a root user. Okay. So friends, that's all about how to create a user, IAM user in AWS. I'm stopping here for 2 minutes. In case you are having any doubt till now, you can ask me. Okay, let me quickly check if there is any doubt. Venkata, any doubt from your side? Yes.
Neeraj, can we copy rights from group to an another group, existing group to an another group, or
Yeah,
can
that
we
that
create
I will show
how
you. I
to?
will create the group and I will show you that.
Yeah, yeah.
Any doubt from your side, Rajesh?
No, Neeraj.
Okay, that's good. Okay, let's move to the next one. The next one is groups. So, as I was explaining, that instead of granting the access to the user individually, we can create some groups, and that can make our maintenance of users quite easy. You can see that I have already one group available with the name developers, which I created for my previous batch, and there can be some permissions granted to this. Let's check it out. Permissions. You can see that I have attached some permission. Amazon Redshift query editor. But let's see how to create a user from scratch. I will go back and I will click on create group, and let's give some different name. I would say testers. Okay. And add users to the group optional. At the time of group creating, if you want to add the users, you can do, or maybe you want to create the group now and user you want to do later, you can also do that. But let's add right away. I'm adding both the users to my testers group. Okay. And attach permissions. So there is no way to copy the permission from one group to another group. You have to take the permissions directly whatever are available with AWS. Okay. So whatever permissions are there with users individually, that they will still hold. For example, we allowed Amazon as three full access to Venkat, that will be still there. Whatever additional permission you will grant to the group, that also the user will get. Let's try something. Let me search for some service. I would say Athena. Athena is one of the service which we will be exploring in upcoming weeks. So Amazon Athena full access, Amazon Grafana Athena access, AWS quite quick site Athena access. There are many type of access available. I am suppose going with this and click on create user group. Okay. Now let's try one thing. I will go back to the user Venkat and we'll see like what type of permission he is holding. So let's go back to user, click on Venkat and scroll down, and you can see here the bottom one, IAM user change password. This policy was directly granted to this user. Amazon S3 full access directly granted, but Amazon Athena full access, this permission is not directly granted to this user. Rather, it's coming through a group with the name testers. That means if I remove the permission from tester group, this user will also lose that access. Or in other scenario, like if I remove this user from the group, even in that case this user will lose that Athena access. But it's easy to maintain, because tomorrow if a new developer or new tester is joining, I don't have to go through again with this permission process and all. I can simply add the user to a particular group. Or if someone is leaving the team, we can simply remove the group user from the group. So this way maintenance of the permissions would be quite easy. Okay, so this is about users and users group. Coming to roles, same user, right, maybe playing different roles. Like sometime we are playing a role of a manager, in other project you may be playing a role of a individual contributor, or somewhere you may be playing a role of architect. Similarly, in our real life, in our home also, we are playing different roles: father's role, husband's role, son's role, and all that, right? Similarly, in AWS, for performing different type of tasks, you may be playing different roles. The user is same, username is Neeraj or username is Venkat, but we may be playing different roles. Another scenario is not only human beings, sometimes the servers also playing some role. I will tell you. Suppose you have a remote server and you have installed some Python code on top of that, and you are running that Python code. Maybe that Python code is trying to connect to a database and trying to read the data. But the question is the server allowed to connect to that service, Redshift or database? As I told you in the beginning, each and everything you do as a human being or even a server is doing something, it is completely controlled by the permissions. That means any single service running in your AWS, they cannot interact with each other without permissions. That's why we need the concept of roles. So when we will launch our first server, I will show you that we will launch our first server and we'll try to do something from that server. It will fail. It will say that your server does not have any permission. Server is up and running, but it cannot perform any action. After that, what we will do is we will be attaching one role with the server, and whatever permissions are granted to that role, the server can perform those activities. If you are saying Amazon S3 full access and the role is granted to your server, that means your server has permission to read the data. So all these things we will be doing practically in upcoming classes. For now, for today, I will show you how to create a role. So there are a lot of roles available here. You can see that these roles were created from my previous batches, but you don't have to worry about it. We will be clicking on create role, and I will show you from beginning how to create a role. Okay, so you can create a role for AWS service. You can read this. Allow AWS service like EC2, Lambda, or any other service to perform action in this account. Or sometime you may be interested to create an cross AWS account as well. Suppose I want to create one IAM role in the server will be in my account, but my server will read the data from S3 bucket from your account. It's a cross account access. That also we will talk about in upcoming days. For now, let's create an simple IAM role. So use case, which AWS service? I can take EC2 to keep it simple. EC2 and then click on next. Okay. What type of permissions? Suppose your EC2 instance wants to do something on Redshift, I would say. Maybe you are not aware about these services for now, but later on we will explore all these things. Amazon Redshift full access, Amazon Redshift query editor, Amazon Redshift data full access. There are many permissions. Maybe I will go with this. Okay. And click on next. Or if you want multiple, right, you can do that. One permission I have selected. Now let's select other one. other I will select for SNS, and you can see that Amazon SNS read only access or Amazon SNS full access. Let's go with this. Okay, and click on next. Provide a meaningful name, anything. I would say my server role. We are creating the role today, we are not creating the server. Later on in upcoming class, when we will launch our first server, then we will be attaching this role with that particular server. Okay, and you can read the description they have already provided. Allow EC2 instance to call AWS services on your behalf. That's the purpose, right? And these are the two permissions added: Amazon Redshift data full access and Amazon S3 SNS read only access. And tags, I told you, right? Each and every service you will create in AWS, you can provide tags if you want, otherwise it's not mandatory. The purpose of tags is to identify the things. For example, there are hundreds of users, and all hundreds of users are using the same AWS account. So things are scattered here and there. Maybe as a guideline, as a root user, you will ask every team member that whenever you are creating any resource, please add a tag with your team name, so that at any point of time we can go and check, like, okay, this user or this role or this S3 bucket server, anything is belonging to which team. That can help, like, to sometime you want to do analysis on the billing part, like which team is consuming more money and which team is consuming more resources. All that stuff you can do. So that's the ultimate purpose of tagging. Otherwise there is no technical significance. So click on create role. Our role will be created, and until or unless this role is not associated with any user or any service, then there is no point, there is no existence. Okay, it's like your car is parked in your garage, then there's no point until or unless someone will start driving and take the car out and on the road, then only it makes sense, right? So right now the role is ready. In upcoming class, when I will launch our first server, I will show you how to attach this role to that server. Okay, so that's all about creating a role. I'm taking a pause here for 2 minutes. Anyone is having any doubt till now, please feel free to ask.
So, Neeraj, in real-time project, when we are doing the development, so do we need to create any roles or users or anything, or already all these things exist? So the existing things we need to use.
It depends. If you are the admin user, if you are the person who is involved from the beginning of the project, then you may have to create some users as well, roles as well, and all that stuff. If you're joining a project in the middle where some process is already in place and roles are already in place, in that case some admin user will create a user for you. They will add you to some group and you are good for development, you can start doing the work.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, any other doubt from anyone else? Deepthi?
No, I'm good.
Okay,
So
let's
and
move.
and the axis also, like whatever the services we are working in our project, so
Hmm,
those are those services only they will give the access. Am I correct?
absolutely.
Okay.
Because there are a lot of services available and corresponding there are a lot of policies available, and whichever services your project is using, they will be granting only that access. And in that scenario also, as per your requirement, for example, you just need to read the data from storage, not write the data, not modify the data. They don't want you give the permission for deleting the data. In that case they will give you only read only access. And as a best practice we should do that. We should provide bare minimum permissions. If someone just need to execute the query, provide the execute query permissions only. Don't provide them the permission to insert or update or delete. That's not good. As and when it's required, maybe today you are giving permission for read only data, and after 1 month the user needs to insert something, so you go back and provide the more additional permissions. But in the beginning, right now we have a trial account and we are the owner, we can do anything. That's why I am giving S3 full access. But in real time scenario, in a real project, usually we do not provide full access to everyone. We always provide the bare minimum permission only required for their day to day work.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so let's move to the
Neeraj,
next. Yes, Venkata.
Uh, as an admin, while creating roles,
Hmm.
let's say while creating a role, I'm using a pre-existing role name. In that case, will it update the existing role, or it will not allow to create a role with the pre-existing name?
It will not allow. If you have any user,
Oh,
any, not only user, any service with some name, and if you're trying to create again with the same name, it will not allow you. Either you need to create a
okay.
new resource, or in case you want to modify the existing one, as I was giving example, like role is already there but you want to add some more permissions, so you can modify the existing one.
Yes, yes. Also, for a user, there is one IAM access, right?
Hmm.
Let's say it is having all rights for a service, and
Okay.
he is added to a group where a particular service is having only read-only access.
Hmm.
In this case, how will the access right be acted upon the user?
In case whatever is the highest privilege granted to, because he is having the full access also, so the full access will work for him. For other people, because they are part of that group, and they will be having the read only permission.
Oh,
Does that answer your question, Venkata?
yes, Neeraj. Yeah, got it. Thank you.
Okay, let's move to the next section, that is policies. You must have noticed that while creating the user, or while creating the role, or even while creating the group, I was simply searching for some policy and I was attaching it. How is it possible? Because AWS has created a lot of policies for us. You can see that 1229, these number of policies are predefined by AWS for different use case: read only, read write, full access, execute, and all that stuff. I mean, whatever best possible segregation is there, they have already done it. That makes it quite easy to quickly create a user or role and quickly grant some policies. But not all the times this is good. Sometimes you may say that I don't want to go with this predefined policies, because I want to customize it as per my need. Maybe you are saying that read only is very limited permission, I don't want to give read only. In that case I will say, okay, if you don't want read only, then give full access. In that case you say, no, I even don't want to give full access, I want something in middle, or I want to customize, I want a better control over there. If that is the case, AWS allows you to create your own policies, which we call it as customer managed policies. You will have full control over there. I will show you that how to do it. So on the right side you can see that there is option of create policy. Click on that, and after that, first of all we will select which particular service you are creating this custom policy. So to make it simple, I will go with S3. S3 is a storage service which we will be exploring in tomorrow's class. It's like a Google Drive. Google Drive is basically a service provided by Google, and S3 is a similar service provided by AWS. You can put your data over there, you can read the data, you can write the data, you can delete the data, and there is no limit of storage. You can store as much of data as you have. But what S3 is all about, that definitely we will be exploring in much more detail in tomorrow's class. Okay. Now, what type of permissions you want to give? We have a complete list, and you have the full control. Under list category, you expand that. Under list category, you will find so many. All list actions, list access grants, list access point, list bucket, list job, and there can be many more. So since I want to customize, I will say suppose list bucket, and maybe list job, and list tag for resources, list multi-part upload, something like that, list bucket version. Okay. So if you simply go with predefined, they will like giving the full permissions in the list category. But since I'm creating my custom, I'm giving some specific permissions. Similar, this is only about listing. You can only list the file, you cannot read the content of the file. You can only list like how many files, how many folders are there. Along with that, you would like to give some read permission, so that uh, this policy will be granted to someone, right? Then the user or the role will be able to perform only these actions. So under read category, there are total 60 permissions available, but we can select specific one. I would say get access point, and let's try something else. Get bucket location. There is a get object as well. Where is that? Get object. It's there. Get object. Basically, that is about reading your file. And info is given for every option. Let's read this out. Grant permission to retrieve objects from Amazon S3. If you want to read even more, there is separate link given. You can do that. So the point here is that you have the full control. You can choose as per your need. So under read category, I have selected 3. Let's collapse this. Similarly, under write category, it depends. If you want to mix read and write, you can do that. Or maybe you create a separate specific custom role for read operations and separate custom policy for write operations. That also you can do. So I'm just giving few permissions. Uh, 5 permissions from list category and 3 permissions from read category. Okay, and then this permission you want to applicable on all the buckets. Buckets is nothing but a, I would say, global level directories. It's like that. So would you like to allow these operations, whatever you selected, on all the buckets or on specific bucket? So AWS provides the permissions level a very granular level. If you say that this particular permissions should be applicable only for this particular bucket, that you can do. So as of now, you can go with all. Tomorrow, once you have a bucket, then I will show you what bucket is, how to create the bucket, what are the different settings of the bucket and all. So I'm giving this and finally clicking on next. Provides a meaningful name of the policy. I would say my, suppose our project name is Alpha and this policy is created specifically for our project. So I would say S3 custom read only policy, or you can put the project name in the beginning. I mean, it's up to you wherever you want to put. Okay. So Alpha S3 custom read only policy. Now it's making some sense, right? And you can provide some meaningful description. I would say restricted access for Alpha project. And if you want, you can specify read only. So restricted read only access for Alpha project. And this one is the service. These are the limited permissions for list and read, applicable to all the resources, and tags again optional if you want. Click on create policy. That's all. So this way your policy has been created. But until or unless this policy is not guaranteed to anyone, then there is no point. What we can do is, just for trial, let's go back to the users category, and to Venkat user, right, I granted S3 full access, right? Let's do one thing. Let's remove that S3 full access and let's grant this limited one. So this one I granted earlier, but now I'm saying, okay, I don't want to give full access. That's not a good idea. I'm removing it. So you can remove that and add permission and click on add permissions again. And we'll go with the last one, attach policy directly, and search with that name, Alpha. It's coming now. Alpha S3 custom read only policy. And the type is customer managed. If you search for other policies, right, you will see that it's AWS managed. You see that. Wherever you see this yellow symbol, that means it's a AWS managed policy. But in our case, you will notice that it's a completely customer managed policy and there is no that yellow icon. And attached entities, it will tell you that is this policy already attached to some user or some group or some role. At this point of time, no, it's not yet I can say attached. So that's fine. Click on next. Okay, let's select this and click on next, and that's all. So now if you will look at this Venkat user, you will see that IAM user change password permission he has, that's coming automatically by AWS. Amazon Athena full access coming through a group, and this one custom one without any yellow symbol, that's customer managed, that is directly attached to your user. Okay, so this one is all about creating a policy, customer managed policies. If you're having any doubt, you can ask me. Otherwise, I think we are almost done for the day. These slides will help you to do it practically on your trial account. You can refer to the recordings as well if you want. Customer managed policy we have talked about. Yeah, that's all for today. So I told you that the first week I will keep it little light so that you guys can get started. I hope all of you have created your trial account. If not, please create the trial account as soon as possible so that you can do the things practically on your trial account. Tomorrow we'll be talking about S3. Today we talked a lot about S3, right? When I was creating a user or role or granting any access, everything was all about S3 only. Okay, so any doubt from anyone? Otherwise, we are good for the day.
Neeraj, in app, where we can see the documentation part, all these slides and all, where we can see.
Are you able to see the recording from yesterday's class?
Yes, I can see.
Okay, so I forgot to upload the PDF yesterday. I will upload there and you will find along with the recording itself.
Okay, okay,
Okay,
got
so
it.
today I will upload the recording and PDF and definitely yesterday's PDF as well. So you can access it from there. Okay, friends, then thanks for joining. Thanks for making the session interactive. Tomorrow we'll meet again using the same meeting link and same time, and we'll be exploring our next service that would be S3. Thank you.
Thank you.